Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. We are here breaking down The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 7, Convergence, the season finale. I'm your host, Tamara, and I am glad you've hit play on today's episode. Please follow us on all of your favorite social media platforms. The links for both me and Lisa are in the show notes. If you like what you hear, please hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss a single episode. Well, when we come back next, we don't know when that will be, but we'll be back and you don't want to miss us. Joining me today is show co-host Lisa. Welcome back, Lisa.
Hey Tamara, hey everyone. My name is Lisa Orban. I am an author. I am also the founder of Indies United Publishing House, and I love all things pop culture.
Alrighty, so if you are new to the podcast, we are laid back in our review style, right, Lisa?
Absolutely, Tamara. This is a conversation, not a dissertation.
Yes, no scene by scene breakdowns here. We jump around. And of course, huge spoiler alerts. So the only spoilers you won't really have to worry too much about are from the game, as we didn't play it. Now, personally, I did hear a couple things here and there, but I'm going to try to hold it together and not spill the dirt. So
Right. And
right.
my boyfriend played the game, so he drops things on occasion, but
Yeah.
There are just keep in mind if you haven't played it, there are multiple endings. So there are multiple possibilities that
Mm-hmm.
could happen now that the season finale, for the next season.
Yeah. So, neither of us played, but we have ways to find out things. So just be knowledgeable of that. And actually, I had an experience yesterday. So heads up, be careful on social media because you will mess around and get spoiled. I learned a lesson. I was watching a video and it showed me something I wasn't really ready to see. So just keep your eyes peeled when you're looking at shorts and other things that are comparing the game to the show.
Hmm.
you, you might get a surprise you weren't expecting. So, okay, here we are. What'd you think of the finale, Lisa?
Ah!
Oh,
It's about how I feel about it.
so my initial reaction, I literally said, "What the bleep?" At the end, I said, "What the did I just watch? What was that?" I
Well,
was so irate.
I was too. I was really upset about Jesse dying.
Yeah.
I really thought he was gonna make it through. I'm not gonna lie, and partially because of the game. I know this because my boyfriend
Mhm.
said. But no, so apparently they went with one of the alternate endings. And I don't know. I really liked the character Jesse. He was, I mean, he was a goody two shoes. Don't get me wrong, but he really was trying.
He
he didn't
was.
he didn't believe in what they were doing. He didn't believe in what was going on. But man, he was there. He came for her. Well, I think he mostly came for Dina, but even still.
Right. So I kind of feel uh like Jesse, I feel like he thinks he's a good guy and generally he is, but I think he thinks life is more black and white than it really is.
And there is that, and I do agree with that.
Yeah. He thinks he's making the best choices and Ellie is not. And Ellie basically calls him out for that during the episode. She said, "You think you're good and I'm bad? Wait a minute."
Yeah.
And I kind of do agree. So I agree with both of them. I think they both did things that were right for themselves.
Hmm.
And that doesn't mean that one was correct and one was wrong. It was just different.
Right. And she, I mean, that scene where the young kid, and Ellie wants to go after him. And he stops her. He's like, "No, there's six of them. There's two of us.
Yes.
This isn't our fight."
Yes.
And that is true. It's not their fight. His primary goal at this point is to get Dina and everyone out safely. And that is not a terrible goal to have.
No, I feel like self preservation is important, right?
Yes.
And I agree. That's why I say I kind of agree with some of the stuff he's doing too. Because if that were me, I would feel bad for the child. But he has seen things, right?
Yeah.
He's been out there. So he's probably seen them kids acting bad. So even, the one scene where we see I cannot remember, oh, the Seraphites,
Hmm.
the mother's asking the kid, "What do we do?" Right?
Yeah. And she's like, "Kill him." Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So the kids are out here committing murder and attacking people and hanging people, and they're doing all the bad stuff to each other.
Hmm.
It's not just the adults.
Right. I mean, the kids are just as involved
Yeah.
in this entire thing, which is honestly terrible.
And you know
Um,
what happens when you jump into someone's business? You try to help someone and they turn around and stab you.
right.
No. So in
And
that case, it was fine. Jesse was right.
and again, I mean, I can see Ellie's point of view because she has very much always been the outsider.
Mhm.
But again, there's a really good chance that they could, even if they could have saved this kid, the kid turning on them.
Yes. Yeah,
So,
totally.
you
Like,
know,
"Oh, thanks for the save, but now I'm gonna kill you."
right, exactly. Because these, on both sides, one is basically they are religious zealots, and the other are military zealots. I mean, there is no quarter being given.
Right.
There's no, there's definitely no Geneva Convention going on here.
Exactly.
Um, Everything is fair in love and war, and yeah, I mean, no quarter is given, and it's not a. The only end to this is if their one side is completely annihilated, or they annihilate each other.
Mhm.
Um, which to me doesn't even make any sense because at this point, again, it's not like the world is very crowded.
No, it's not.
One side or the other could just go, okay, here's the line, and we're going to go this way, and you're going to go that way. There's nothing special about Seattle.
Well, okay, so I think at least for our from our point of view as non-players of the game, we don't know the history yet. We
Right.
know we're gonna get it eventually, and maybe that history will make us understand why this war is so serious, why
Yeah,
there is no give. We'll it better make sense when we do get it. I know that, you
it
know?
better.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I do know that in a lot of these shows, the not just the ones that are based on video games, but there is, there's them and us, and we have discussed on The Walking Dead, if we had followed one of these other groups instead of our primary group, we might have been more sympathetic to the other side and
Mhm.
less sympathetic to the people we're following because we're invested in those characters.
Exactly.
Um, in a lot of these cases, there really aren't any good or bad guys. There are just people trying to survive.
Mhm.
Um, and they do bad things to survive. But in this case, in this show, I mean, this is just going to be annihilation on both sides. There are no good guys here. I mean, in any respect, none of the viewpoints are. No one's a good guy.
Right.
Not even Ellie. She's not a good guy in this.
Nor is Jesse. That's the whole thing. Like we go back to this.
Yeah,
There's shades of gray all over the place. There is dark.
right,
There are bad people. There are great people. I don't
right,
think there's anyone exactly quote unquote good anymore.
right. Um, the only difference is we have followed Ellie for 2 seasons now, and so we are invested in her survival because we want her to survive because we have watched her journey.
Mhm.
Um, but I don't know that we would be any less sympathetic to Abby if we had followed her for this entire show.
Right.
Um, I Abby is the bad guy, and I get it, from Ellie's point of view. But then again, Abby didn't start off as a bad guy. She
And
started
to
off as a kid.
and to be fair, she left her alive.
Yeah,
She
she
left
did.
her alive. She left
Dina,
Dina alive. So it wasn't a slaughter all. It was a very focused execution.
right? Well, it was
So
very messy.
it was
Actually,
messy, but it was on one person and one person only.
correct.
So I kind of, and I said this before, I kind of understand Abby's like aggression and anger, right?
Hmm.
I feel like she felt justice needed to be done. And she kinda did. I don't think she was wrong in her efforts either. So it's really murky water, right?
Right.
Like, we want Ellie to survive and get through this, but for me, she was making dumb decisions almost the entire episode.
Right. Because she should have gone after Tommy. If
Yeah,
she had gone after Tommy and gone back and gotten Dina, the ending never would have happened.
right,
It just wouldn't have. They would have gotten out of there. More than likely, they would have gotten out of there and been able to go home.
right.
Um, but Ellie, I mean, she follows these people. She's in a boat. She capsizes. She's captured. She's almost hung. And when she finally breaks free, instead of going, maybe this is a little extreme, she just keeps going.
Yeah, honestly, like the Energizer Bunny or something. I'm like, "Isn't your ass exhausted? What is
Yeah.
happening?" It's kinda wild. Like, she just kept going and going, and it's like,
And
uh,
she didn't stop
no,
until she did. And
right.
I don't think she want. I know she didn't want to kill those people.
No, she didn't, but you know what? Her reflexes were good. So she
Yeah.
found what, Owen, and I can't remember the other girl's name who
Yeah.
died. But she found some of Abby's people and she said, "Where are they? Where
Right.
is she? Tell me." And actually, did you notice she kind of pulled the same map thing that Joel did last season?
Hmm.
So she tries it, it fails. And she tells them, "I don't want to kill you because I'm not you. I just want to know where Abby is."
Right.
And I think they kind of believed her, but he was going for his gun.
Right.
He was gonna kill her, and it was a standoff, and she just reacted fast. But you could
Right.
tell from the look on her face, she was jarred that that happened.
Right. And then when she finds out the woman's pregnant,
Ugh.
I mean that was her. I think that was her breaking point when she went, okay, I have gone too far.
So if it were you, if you were Ellie, and the woman's telling you to just cut and get it out, and you didn't know what you were doing, would you have cut anyway to do it, to try, or would you have been more like shell shocked like Ellie and probably not done anything?
I would have tried. Knowing
Yeah,
my personality, I would have tried.
yeah, that's what I think. Because in that moment, I'm like, I know you don't know what to do. I know you're scared, but try. That's what I was
Right.
thinking to the TV. I'm like, just try. I'm like, just try. I mean, you're not gonna hurt anything any worse,
Right.
right? The
She
kid
can't
is gonna
waste
die,
those.
period. So you can at least attempt to try to save the child.
Right. So, although that would have brought on some additional complications, but
There it
um,
would've. But that
no,
woman was a doctor, right? Or in
right.
medical. So,
And she was trying to describe what to do, but she was saying it in medical terminology that Ellie just didn't understand.
yeah.
Um, and and she kept telling her, "You're doing a good job. You're doing a good job."
Look, she's fading away out of
Right.
this world, and she
Yeah.
could not figure out to change her terminology because her brain was shutting down. She's just
Right.
saying what she knew.
Right.
And I think if it was impossible for the child to live, she probably wouldn't have said anything
Right.
because she would know, right?
Right. I mean, she had to be at least 8 months along, if not 9.
Mhm.
She was close, which is probably why she was tucked away.
Mhm.
Um, to keep her. I mean, there's no good reason for her to go into battle,
Exactly.
and um, so yeah, I think knowing myself, I mean, I would have been. I have a tendency to be very focused during an emergency
Mhm.
and then fall apart after.
Yeah.
That's generally how I react. I get very still inside and I just focus on whatever it is I'm trying to do. And then once the emergency is over, then I have my panic attack when it's convenient.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think, again, that kind of plays to, I think, Ellie's age. She's
Hmm.
young still. Uh, I'd like to think that if that were me, I'd, have the gumption to just get it done and cry about it later.
Yeah.
Uh, But she's young and it shows. It feels like she kind of reverted back a couple years as well
Hmm.
during that scene. But I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know what to
It.
say.
I mean, the reaction to panic and to when you know you don't know something, to freeze is very very common.
Mhm.
Um, and she was in shock.
Yeah.
She hadn't meant to kill them. I mean, she was willing to. Don't get me wrong, but she didn't want to,
Right.
and she didn't know the woman was pregnant. And if she had known, I don't know that she would have been more careful. She might have tried to be more careful. I don't know. But it did very much change her what was going on. I think it kind of snapped her out of the whole "what am I doing here." I still want my revenge. I still want to go after Abby, but is it worth the cost? The
Right.
cost finally really hit her. And it has been kind of slowly building with Dina getting shot in the leg, and the other small things going along. And sit, sitting there in front of this pregnant woman who's trying to describe how to cut the baby out of her as she dies was just, that
A
was it.
lot.
It was a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
And I think that full realization of how far she has gone really hit her.
Well, I hope so, but
Well,
at least now, right? She's done now. We know
right.
this. she's she's
And she
finished.
and she said it as much to
Yeah.
Jesse and Tommy,
Mhm.
because Tommy asked her, are you okay with this? No, I'm not really okay, but I'm okay.
Mhm.
More or less. I'm not. I want to go after Abby, but I am okay not to anymore.
Yeah. Too bad she couldn't come to that realization a little sooner, but
Exactly. And
she had to go through the motions, I guess.
I mean, you would think that after being hung, that might have been a realization, you
Mhm.
know, or any of the other things. But she might have even, what have maybe even had pushed her though is how she brutally beat Zoe, and as a justification for that beating, I have to continue on.
Well, I think in that moment she was really trying to be kind of what Joel was, right?
Yeah,
She's like she learned from Joel, this is how you have to be, right?
right,
And I think she was trying to reflect that, but when it came down to it, she couldn't do it. She didn't
right.
pull it off. And I
Now, I think
think
if
that's
it
what it
had been
was.
Joel there, he would have cut the baby out.
Yeah, but
Um,
Joel just he
did
can
things
separate himself, right? He can
right,
just do the thing. Like he just shot a bunch of people in that hospital and he moved on.
right,
So, at least not that way,
exactly.
even though she
Um,
wants to be.
I mean, Joel is was her world, was her community, was her people. You
Mhm.
know, everything she is right now, she is. It is a reflection on who Joel was as a person to a large extent.
Mhm.
Um, and while Ellie already was very similar to Joel before she ever met him, he had a profound influence on her, and there's no way that he couldn't have had a profound influence on her.
Right. Yeah. Well, that was a cluster. So, what did you think when she got to that island? Honestly, first off, I have to say, the first thing I thought when she goes and she gets in the boat and then the waves are going like crazy, and I
Hmm.
thought, "Did your ass know how to swim? When did you learn how to swim? You were in a place where there's, like, no well, maybe there's some big bodies of water, I guess, but, instantly I'm like, "That's not any kind of rain. Those waves are really high." It was
Yeah.
almost actually, I know that's probably I think it's called the pungent sound, I think it's called,
Hmm.
but I didn't even know waves like that could look like that in that area. But, okay, that's another thing, but I'm like, "You can you even swim in that kind of water? You out here paddling this, got this little motorboat that's nothing, weighs nothing." It seemed almost unreal. She gets to the little island, she's washes up on the island, and then she's instantly, like, in trouble,
Oh yeah.
again. I'm like, "This is the most wildest stuff." I don't know what I thought about that section. I
Well,
guess I don't
she was
know.
trying to follow the bigger, trying to follow the boats more or less,
Yeah.
and they were going to do bad, and the only thing that saved her was the fact that the other boats made it to their village and is in the process of probably annihilating him, because I'm sure that's what the plan is.
Right.
And it's going to be every man, woman, and child.
Yep.
So,
I mean,
yeah,
she just died
yeah, and
again.
again, she at that point she should have cut her losses. Um, but she
Like these,
didn't.
like these people, they about to string me up and murder me. I think it's time for me to leave.
Right. I
Right.
think this is, I can come back to this at a later time.
Yeah.
Abby's not going any. I mean, and with this war going on, there's a good chance Abby wasn't going to make it anyway.
Right.
Um, I mean, this is one of those situations where the only end to it is if either one side or both sides, one side annihilates the other, or they both die.
Mhm.
Um, because there is no other end to this.
Mhm.
I don't
Yeah.
even think it's a case where they could, unless they could take the only kids they could probably say would probably be under the age of 5.
Yeah.
As far as the wolves going after the um, Seraphites, because these kids are indoctrinated.
Exactly.
If they brought them back, I'm pretty sure they'd kill whoever kept them in their sleep.
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah, so the WLF is like, we're gonna go to this island, we're gonna take them out,
Hmm.
massive assault on them. And of course, during that little scene where we get, Isaac talking to that woman who had to let her child die, can't remember her name. We find out, or he finds out that, Owen, Mel, that's the woman's name, Mel,
Right.
and Abby are all missing.
Hmm.
So I
And why
guess,
are they missing?
yeah, why are they missing? What are they off doing?
I mean, they probably have a plan of sorts, I'm sure. Um, God only knows what it is.
Well, we knew that they were talking about, so Mel and Owen were talking about meeting Abby somewhere.
Hmm.
And Mel kind of was like, dude, I don't want to do it. I'm out. I don't have to do this because it's Abby, because, whatever. So we
Hmm.
don't know exactly what they were going to be doing.
Nope.
But based on how Abby looked in that last scene where, she shoots at Ellie, she had bruises on her neck.
Hmm.
So I'm assuming she had some kind of run in with the Seraphites, which we're going to probably see now that we know that we're going back to day 1 in
In
Seattle.
Seattle, from her
Mhm.
point of view.
Mhm. So maybe we get to see what her and her people were up to
Hmm.
during those times, cuz something, and obviously that scene was there to let us know something was going on. They've been off the radar.
Yeah. Well, and the wolf community does seem a lot. Looking out, it's a lot bigger than I thought it was.
Mhm.
I mean, that was a huge area that they had people milling around in. Because so far, really, all we've seen is the military.
Mhm.
And she was looking out over what I would assume is the civilian population.
Yeah, probably. They've got to have some civilians. They've got to.
They have to have
Yeah.
farmers. People
Yeah,
have to be fed.
right. I
And
mean,
what
we know they have medical staff, so they've got to have other people there.
yeah. And
Mhm.
what do they say? An army moves on its belly. So yeah, I mean, they'd have to have farmers. They'd have to have people that, you know, the support structure for
Mhm.
this whole thing. And so yeah, there's a lot more than we had originally been exposed to.
Right. So, what did you think about, when Jessie at the very beginning was helping Dina pull that thing out of her leg, and she's kinda like babbling because she's, like, really scared and it's hurting,
Hmm.
and he's like, "Shut up." He's
Yeah.
like, "I got you. Just chill out," like, basically. And
Do you
she
know what you're doing?
right, and she refuses the alcohol. He
Mhm.
instantly knows something is wrong.
Yeah. The only thing I'm really going to say about that scene is he really should have cut the fletching off.
Well, maybe he didn't have anything to cut it off with.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
you know.
I'm sure that shit hurt like hell. It
Oh
must have
yeah.
hurt unbelievably. Uh, but he did it, and then later, he kind of confronts, Ellie with it, like,
Hmm.
she refused the alcohol. She never gave up a free drink in her life.
Right.
And
I
she's
know
like,
something's up. You know.
yeah, yeah, what is, and she says, she kind of tells him, or he guesses, and she confirms, and she's like, oh, shoot, you were guessing? Oh,
Yeah.
no.
You didn't. You were just guessing. Oh my god.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like,
She's like, she is gonna tell you. She is. She
yeah, act
plans on telling
surprised.
you. Yeah. I mean, and I realized why Dina was keeping it from him, because him knowing would change his attitude, which it very much did.
Well, I think
Uh,
it intensified his attitude. He
right,
already had, like, his game plan to find Tommy and get the hell out of there.
right,
But now he's like, "Now nothing can happen to me now
right.
because I have a child.
Hmm.
So now we all have to get the hell out of here right now."
Hmm.
So you're right. He already had his mission, but it's like he is really honed in now.
Right. He is focused,
Mhm.
and then he dies.
And then he dies. Well, I knew somebody was gonna die at the end of this episode.
Yeah.
I said, "There's no way after all of this drama, they were just gonna skip off back home. Somebody was gonna die." I
Oh yeah.
just didn't think it would be Jesse.
I truthfully, I kind of thought it was going to be Tommy.
Mm, mhm.
It's not that Tommy's not in a bad way. He is. He
Yeah.
has been shot, but he is still alive.
Mhm.
Um, but Jesse was shot in the head. So yeah,
Point blank,
we're
man.
just.
He opened that door and he dropped to the ground.
I will say, in that circumstance, I would not have busted through that door quite so vigorously.
Right.
Um, because you know that there's a shooter on the other side. There's at least one person,
Right.
and I realize there's a, and I am sure for Jesse, it was, again, he was so focused on making sure Dina and the baby were safe. He did, all other considerations flew out the door.
Yeah.
And
Honestly, he would still be alive if he might still be alive if he just kind of like cracked the door and took a little peek.
right,
I don't know. Instead, he barged in there and got shot right in the head.
right.
And I guess lucky.
Or even if they had picked a different door, like one of the
Yeah.
further ones down, because this was a theater,
Yeah.
which means there's multiple ways out of that theater. If they had each gone a separate direction
Mhm.
and taken a far door, she could
Mhm.
have covered both doors. Of course, they didn't know if it was just one person or multiple people, or what was going on.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I would have not gone through the main door.
Yeah, even though I know with the shooting, it's kind of probably hard to see exactly where in the lobby it's coming from, but it would have made sense to split up,
Hmm.
if nothing else. And honestly, the only thing that saved Ellie were her shorter legs
Right,
because they were both running for the door.
as
And
fast as they could.
yes.
And I mean, honestly, and I do realize in this case scenario that it may not have been a stranger firing again. It could have been Tommy firing again, because one of the mushroom people had come in.
Mhm.
But I guess the one thing that I'm kind of shocked about is the fact that they had the door barred. Did they forget to bar it? Did she come in through some other opening? Um, and
I
how did she
guess
track them down?
look, I guess we'll find out next season. We
Yeah,
better.
we
Because that's
better.
very interesting. How did she find them? But then again, I'm like, they got the lights on and stuff in there. I mean, they just made themselves all comfortable. I'm like, you guys don't even seem like you're hiding.
Yeah,
I'm curious to see how she finds out where they are. Because
yeah,
she came right there.
yeah,
So she tracked them or someone saw them, something.
yep, something.
Yeah, because it seems like they had just left those two friends of Abby's. They got back there. They weren't there for very long before she shows up, so she was right behind them.
Right. I mean, and maybe she was just coming in when they were leaving and she
Mhm.
just followed them back,
Mhm.
which at that point that would make sense.
Yeah.
Um, and she waited for them to let their guard down.
Well, that's what yeah. I'm telling you, Abby is so much more aggressive than Ellie is
Yeah.
to me. And actually, in doing my little internet sleuthing, the gamers are really unhappy with Ellie's character for that reason. So, a great example that I heard was that, when Ellie was defending, kind of like trying to help that child,
Mm-hmm.
that is soft to them. Like, how dare they do that to her, that character in the game? That Ellie would have never. She knew what was going on. She knew the risk. She wouldn't have done that.
Hmm.
So they, on purpose, softened Ellie's character for the TV show. They made
Interesting.
personality changes, and I
I mean,
think
she's still bloodthirsty. Don't get me wrong, but
she's softer though, and you can
yeah,
tell. I think, like, Abby left her alive, but I don't think it was out of the kindness of her heart. I just think she just was like, "I'm here for one thing, and that's not you."
right.
But
Focused.
yeah, and I mean, the quickness how she shot down, um,
Jesse.
Jesse, I'm like,
Hmm.
"Damn, she is not playing."
No, she is not.
And then the way the gun went off, she said, "I let you live, and you squandered it." Bam. Like, oh, oh, this woman is not playing around. Ellie would sit there, let's make a deal and bargain. Or, I feel like Ellie would not have done the same thing.
No, no, I don't think because she really was. I mean, she told Zoe that she wasn't going to kill her. She did. Well, actually, no, she didn't. She
No.
left her to
Well,
mutate.
yeah, she left her to music. I mean, she's dead already. There's nothing you could do.
Right. But I don't. I think if she had given up where um where she was, where Abby was, I think she would have let Zoe live.
Mm,
Um, tied up, I'm sure, or
mm-hmm.
some such. But I think she would have let her go. Just like I'm pretty sure she would have let the other two go if they
Yeah,
had just given her what she wanted because she
yeah,
wasn't interested in any of them.
right. I mean, we remember the beginning of that scene, right? She did say kind of the same, essentially the same thing. I don't want to hurt you. Just tell me where Abby is.
Right.
And then the girl ran off. It ran down into the basement of her own accord.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, I think she would have been just fine if she had just said, "Hey, Abby is at the aquarium. Good
Right.
day." um, but things don't ever work like that. So,
Right.
but yeah, Ellie is a very different person, and the gamers are mad. They are very upset. They do not like it at all. But as a watcher, I don't mind it
Yeah.
because we
Because
have
this
to
is
see a difference.
right. Well, and since we're not gamers, this is our this is our only reference to who Ellie is.
Mhm.
So yeah, I can see where someone who has played the game, if she is significantly different, why that would be upsetting.
Mhm.
But in a video game, nuance is really not a thing.
Right.
Um, you can. I mean, every video game has its own rules, but you don't really explore the quiet moments. It's you either have to kill so many people or you have to go find a specific thing or whatever, and it'll have like little interactions, but you don't really explore any characters.
Well, I don't know. I saw a comparison, the scene where, when Ellie comes back and she's like, "Where's Dina?" And she's in that, dressing room or whatever.
Hmm.
In that moment where she's like, "Oh, take off your shirt. Let me help your back," or, that interaction between them,
Hmm.
that was in the game.
Okay. Okay.
So it's like they do have some things there to kind of grow the
Right.
characters in a different kind of way, um, and show some other sides besides the murdering and goal setting, I guess.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I kind of wish I could play the game, but I'm just not a gamer. I probably wouldn't be able to get past. very much time before I gave up on it. I
Right.
just don't game like that, but I kind of wish I would just so I could see what everyone's, so upset about, but
Maybe I should have paid more attention when my boyfriend played it. Because again, he's one of those people that it's not enough to win the game. No,
yeah.
no, he has to get every trophy, every award, and find every ending.
Mhm.
And then he's done once he
Mm.
has completely ransacked the game.
Mhm.
So if I had watched him play it, I would have probably a really good idea
Mhm.
what kind of person Ellie was. But I mean, but they do that to all these characters. Fallout, and he actually did like Fallout, but it is different, and characters have more depth to them, and I think in this show they have more depth than they can give you in a video game.
Right. Another show that, this little side note, but another show that Kevin absolutely hated and constantly complained about. And I thought the show was fine, but because they did a different treatment for Master Chief, I'm talking
Hmm.
about Halo,
Yeah,
they complained so bad that that helmet kept coming off.
yeah, because in the
They hated
in
it.
in the video game,
It
never
never
once did
comes
he ever
off.
once.
Right. I'm like, of course that actor wants his face on screen. Of course he does.
Right.
But anyway, um, but back to that scene. I thought that scene between Ellie and Dina was pretty cool.
Hmm.
And I think it's again, it kind of shows Ellie's immaturity. Dina had given her some really in-depth, sad stories about herself.
Right.
And Ellie never gave up what happened. She never gave up why they came for Joel until then. And she
Hmm.
tells her, and she's like, "Oh, that's why they came." And you could tell she was kind of pissed off about it.
Yeah.
Rightfully so, because I do feel like by not telling all the things, it was kind of a lie of omission, and you did
Hmm.
not give her the proper information for her to make a smart choice for herself
Right.
about going into that situation.
There's a really good possibility if she had known the reason why Abby came after um, Joel was because Joel had killed her father and every
Mhm.
Firefly in that
Mhm.
building. I mean, that puts Joel in a very different light.
Oh yeah. Everyone would have been voting no.
Right.
No one would have wanted to do that for they probably would have thought it was right. It wasn't fair. Obviously, the way Joel died was dreadful and not right. I
Right.
still feel like Abby could have just shot him and been done with it.
Right.
Uh, but I don't think anyone would have been trying to run and help Ellie with this if they knew the whole truth, which is
Right.
probably why she kept it to herself.
Hmm.
But being that now this is your girlfriend, right? You're talking about
Right.
being the dad to her baby. You should tell her. And she did
Right.
eventually, but I don't know. But that shows, Dina's maturity because even after that, yeah, she was pissed. But what did she do? She gave her a bracelet for good luck.
Yeah.
So she's like, "Yeah, we'll talk about this later, essentially, but go handle this. Good luck. Come back to me,
Right.
and I'll cuss your ass out later."
Right. And I think
you know?
partly because she didn't want Abby going out there
Yeah.
with the burden of, are things over between me and Dina before they even really started.
Right.
Um, and I think the her telling Abby when she did how she did was a bit of self sabotage,
Mhm.
where she really was doubting herself, and I think she wanted someone to be mad at her, and some someone who, and it couldn't have been Jesse because Jesse is Jesse, she needed and I really think at that point if Dina had pushed more, she probably could have stopped or Ellie, because I think that's part of why she told her what she did.
Mhm.
But but neither did.
I don't know. I kind of feel like Ellie just needed to unload. Like, all that stuff just happened,
Yeah.
and she's like, I think she was kind of surprised that she had feelings about what had happened and she needs to unload it.
Yeah,
And who do you trust? You trust Dina.
right. Dina's the only one we trust.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, maybe Tommy.
Yeah. Tommy, she thinks would understand her
Mm-hmm.
plight. So maybe him.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I like Dina more and more because you can tell she's very mature about things,
Mm-hmm.
much more than Ellie. Ellie's got some maturing to do, even though she's more mature than she was at 14, right, in season
Oh yeah.
1. But
Oh yeah.
she's still very,
She's very impulsive,
yeah.
and she's very trigger happy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I mean they're a good complement to each other. I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think um, I really like them as a couple, and I hope we get to see them actually reach that full couple status. I don't know. I mean, is Ellie alive? Is she not alive? That's, that fate, that black, you
Mm-hmm.
hear the shot and then nothing.
Right.
We are left with, well, we know the gamers know, but anything could happen. The show could
Right.
do anything they want.
Exactly. And we also know from that snippet to when it pivots over to Abby and day one in Seattle,
Hmm.
you know, um, at least I'm going to assume, if not all, but at least the beginning of next season is going to be focused on Abby's story. What's going on there? What they've been doing? Their preparations for this assault.
And I'm going to say I agree with that. Even I'd dare to push a little further and even say probably most of the season is going to be Abby and her team is the point. They're the
Mhm.
leads. And then Ellie, if she's still there, and Dina and Tommy will be secondary story.
Right.
They're gonna flip flop places.
Yeah. I honestly think it'll probably be the last episode where
Mhm.
it catches us up to the present of now,
Mhm.
with finale,
Mhm.
and it'll jump to that shot.
Yeah.
Um or even the lead up, again, maybe she followed him from that uh from the aquarium or whatever, and that last episode takes us up to present and we find out what happens after that.
Right. I you know if that second season, a third season, excuse me, could start exactly a year from now, I'd be so excited. But I had heard it's like 2 years away.
Yeah, that's a long time to wait.
That is a very long time to get disengaged
Mhm.
and move on from it, especially, you know, we won't have Pedro Pascal anymore.
Mhm.
They better watch it. I don't know. People lose interest. They better hurry up. Maybe surprise people and come out in 18 months instead. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of surprises me because they knew that there was going to be a third season. They'd
Mhm.
already been greenlit for it. I don't understand why they didn't just roll right into the production of it.
Yeah, I agree. Why not? Just get it done.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because they can mess around with all the effects and things like that for longer, but get the
Mhm.
guts of it recorded. I don't know, filmed. But I think they're making a mistake by waiting for so long.
I do too. I mean, waiting a year, okay, fine. It's a long wait, but it's what we're used to now.
Mm-hmm.
But 2 years it's a long time.
That is a long time.
And to even get, I think get that feeling back, you'd almost have to go back and rewatch the whole series again.
Yeah. And you know me, I'm always busy
Mhm.
reading things, watching things. It's unlikely I'm going to do that.
Right.
If I'm lucky, I'll go back maybe 2 episodes if I'm lucky. I'm definitely not going back to the beginning. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to see how things shake out
Right.
because that's a long way away. We're going to have to find some other stuff to talk about. before 2 years is up.
Yeah. I mean, I know that we know that right now is Dead City.
Yeah.
It's all, but it's at its halfway mark. Um, and then we know that there's another Daryl Dixon coming out.
Yeah, I don't know. When is the drop date for that season? Do you know?
I want to say it's sometime this year, but I don't remember when.
Okay, let me just do a little quick search.
Okay.
Let's see what comes up. It just says 2015. They don't have an actual date yet.
2015.
Oh,
That's
2025, not 2015. 2025. I'm trying to go back 10 years in time. That's
well.
funny.
So it came out a while ago, did it?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
old apparently. It's ancient. Wow. I'm like, what year is this? Okay. So sometime this year. Who
Yeah.
knows? It could be fall, it could be winter.
Right. So
Who
we've
knows?
got those coming out,
Yeah.
and then I guess we'll just figure it out.
We'll have to find some things together
Yep.
that we both have interest in. Hopefully we'll come up with something. So it's not a whole year before you guys hear from us again.
Yep. We'll figure something out, guys.
But yeah, so if you want to hear more stuff right now, though, while this was the end of, The Last of Us for a long time, we are talking about, like Lisa said, we're talking about Dead City right now.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead and find the page for it. If you're listening on Spotify, it's got its own feed. If you're on YouTube, it's in the same thing. It's on the podcast, the recap. So find us, and you can hear more of our discussions right now. You can even go back in time and listen to older The Walking Dead shows and seasons and stuff like that. We've got a lot there.
Yep.
So I don't know. Anything else for this episode?
No. I mean it. I think we've discussed pretty much all the highlights of it, and we're just gonna have to wait and see.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wait it out. Oh my gosh.
I mean, personally, if I had to make a guess, I'm going to say Ellie survives.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, the way they've set this episode, the way the ending is, and how it seems like they're going to structure the next season,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they could go through the whole thing with Abby, and the very last 10 minutes of the final episode is Ellie getting shot in the face. So we don't know.
I know that could totally happen. We could never see her again in present tense.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So I mean, it's hard to say. I'm going to assume Ellie lives,
Mm-hmm.
but the way it's structured at this point, she doesn't have to.
No, they could kill her.
They could kill her.
Yikes. Well, we'll have to see. Maybe we should take bets on it before the next beginning of the next season.
Like I said, I'm betting on her living.
Yeah.
Just because. Because if she doesn't, it means not the bad guy wins, but the bad guy wins.
Yeah, that's true. But they do already know how this ends, right? They know they supposedly plotted this whole thing, so they know what's up.
Right.
Now we just have to deal with it, whatever they decide to dish up for us. So
yep, and hope it's not 2 years like they're saying.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so I guess we'll end things there. Thank you guys for listening to this entire episode. We appreciate you so much for doing that. Again, don't forget to, follow us and check out the other episodes so you don't miss what we're doing next. And we'll see you when we see you. Take care of yourselves. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.